Compared to
Thank you. I'm just going to report on a few things in the budget and then just a couple of tag-on items just to be able to bring you up to date on things. First, I think, as you all know, the budget process is still ongoing. You ended up at the last board meeting having the first reading on some of the service changes. The second reading of that ordinance will be on May 27th at your regular board meeting. What we said during that, during the consideration of those service reductions was that that was reflecting against a 5% across the board reduction that we put in place back in January, along with a lot of other things. And although we've been able to use stimulus dollars to offset about half of what that would be if that 5% were applied to service as well, all the rest of the agency, even the non-service side of our operations department, all are allocated that 5% reduction. What we also said was that as you have heard, as you see in the newspaper, with the deteriorating economy, the state of Oregon having the second highest unemployment rate in the nation, next only to Michigan, and obviously the auto industry's a very significant effect on Michigan's employment levels. We do believe that more reductions in payroll tax revenues are inevitable. We did say, however, that we would hold that final decision relative to service until about mid-May, when we actually get the actual results from the first quarter of this calendar year in terms of the payroll tax revenues. I did ask for each of the departments throughout TriMet to develop an additional 3% reductions. Those have been implemented in the non-service side across the board, meaning a total of 8% reductions across. And you know that we've put in place a salary freeze that aren't controlled by our union contract, which has certain other provisions in it. A furlough, a 2-week furlough on the senior management, on myself and our executive directors, other steps. But what we said on the service side of the additional 3%, we would, one, if necessary, we would expect to be able to, or try to be able to find stimulus dollars to offset about half of that, as we have already. We think we were able to do that, but we would wait until mid before we actually did that reduction. So with May 15th, that is on Friday, the state revenue forecast, probably a couple of days after that, we'll start getting the final numbers from Department of Revenue. We have to make determinations. It is hard for me to think that we're going to be at any place but having to be able to do additional service reductions as well. Those service reductions would come in December. You know, remember, there's a lead time that's necessary because of the way our operators bid on work. They bid in advance of what are called sign-ups for what they're going to be actually driving in the months ahead. And to be able to do all the work that's necessary to be able to have those schedules for what they can bid on available really means we have to have quite a bit of lead time. For example, the things that are happening in September, they just bid on and signed up for what we call sign up for the work that they're going to be doing, the piece of work they're going to be doing up in the last 2 weeks. Likewise, as we move toward December, they will be doing that in early September, but our scheduling has to be ready for August. So we're going to be watching this obviously very closely. It's hard for me to look at the unemployment numbers and not think that that's going to be necessary, but we'll report more to you as the weeks go on with that. The other item, two other quick items that I would give you on is coming up on May 24th, we will have the buses back on the mall. Call during construction of the transit mall for light rail. About 2 years ago, they were all moved off of the mall down onto 3rd and 4th Avenues. They are now going to be coming back onto the mall on May 24th. We're also doing training, and all operators, by the way, have been trained on how to be able to operate on the mall. And it's different. You saw some of the news coverage that came from Monday. Essentially, the advantage for a car operator or a bicyclist is they're able to go all the way from Union Station all the way to Portland State University in that left lane on both 5th Avenue, or in the reverse on 6th Avenue, coming back toward Portland State University, coming back toward Union Station, going north. The blocks that we're forced to turn are there. And you see the picture in our brochures that we've handed out. But it also means that people from that left lane can't turn right across the tracks except for in 2 very specific areas. Given that we had not been operating buses and trains during even the finishing stages of construction, people kind of wandered around in various places where they weren't supposed to be in their autos. We'll be going to have a safety awareness week next week, which will be really educating pedestrians as well as bicyclists and autos about how to be able to do it. The rough rule of thumb is you can be in that left lane, you can go straight, or you can turn left, but you can't turn right. There are, as I say, a couple exceptions, but that's the general rule of thumb. We'll be looking at that on May 24th. We will also be having our rail operators doing training, so our new vehicles, if you've not had a chance to see them, even though they are essentially the vehicle we had in our, what we call our Type 3s, that's our most recent one, they really do look dramatically different. They are head turners as we watch on it. On Monday, we also did take out the media with us so they could ride both buses and see it from a bus operator standpoint, how it works, to be on the train, to be able to see how to operate it from a train standpoint. And if you think about the 3 lanes that are on 5th and 6th Avenues, on the far right side, there is a traffic light that is for the buses only. They then have the ability to be able to move only when they show a green light on that. In the middle lane, which is generally where the train is, except for when it pulls over to pick up, it has a separate train light. And then in the left side is a traffic light, normal traffic light that controls both auto and bicycle movement. We think that the operation is a very smooth operation. As I hear from operators, they really think that it's going to work very, very smoothly from their standpoint. What we just need to do is make sure the autos stay in that left lane and don't move across into lanes they're not supposed to do. The only other thing that I would note is our summer schedule. Several things. One is our next meeting is May 27th, regular board meeting. That's going to be obviously an important one. In June, we'll have the board briefing on June 10th and the regular board meeting on June 24th. In July, because of travel schedules, there will only be one meeting in July. That's the last, the regular board meeting in July, on July 22nd. And then in August, just because of the heavy vacation schedule at the end of August, we always have our regular board meeting on the board briefing date. That is August 12th, and that would be the only meeting in August as well. We'll get all this out to you by email, so I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. With that, happy to be able to answer any questions or other concerns.
Questions? Yeah, Fred, not related to what you're talking about, out of curiosity, considering the name changing on 39th Avenue, that's under consideration. When that happens, or if it happens, do we encounter much expense in making changes to like printed material, mapping, online system and stuff like that, or is it pretty simple for us?
Generally speaking, it's fairly simple because we oftentimes have to update our printed materials. Not insignificant, but not very significant. The online activities are relatively easy, but I'm trying to remember. I mean, if you think of some of our buses, like number 6, the overhead will actually say MLK rather than Union. So we do make those changes. On 39th, I'm trying to think of any bus that, I mean, the 75 just probably, what does it even say?
39th Lombard.
39th Lombard, so we'll have to make some of those changes and such. We've done this with Rosa Park Way as well. I don't know, I'll look at Ken or Steve. It's not a very big deal for us.
Okay. No, I'm just curious as to, I mean, right. Say, gee, we got to do this, now you incur all this other little...
No, the only place it makes some difference is, and obviously we were very happy to be able to do it, but at our MAX station on on the Interstate Max, when it went to Rosa Parks Way, we really did add the wording at the Max station so that it was able to be not Portland Boulevard, but Rosa Parks Way. On 39th, I just don't think there's any, do we have signage out there that would have to be, I don't think there is. I can't think of that. So it's really more our internal and then our printed materials. But as I said, we have to update our printed materials relatively regularly, so it's not a big deal.